Meanwhile, in the United States, an Indian student was handcuffed and pinned to the ground and then deported. The video has now sparked a huge outrage. And the last story that we will be telling you on this edition is how the violence continues to grip Los Angeles. There are large-scale vandalism that has taken place and it is still continuing even at day 4. So these are the 6 stories that we have lined up for you, starting first up with the top story. Now, the biggest story of the day is the Singapore cargo ship that had an explosion on board yesterday, and this was off the Kerala coast. Now, the incident, remember, occurred at around 10:30 a.m. and this was on June 9, that is yesterday, when an underdeck explosion was reported by the Maritime Operations Center, and this was in Mumbai. And this was relayed to their Kochi counterparts. Now, soon after, the Navy immediately diverted INS Surat, which was scheduled to dock in Kochi to render emergency assistance. But the question, ladies and gentlemen, to ask here is, was the ship carrying banned substance? And if yes, where was it headed to and who actually is the owner of the ship? Let's first take you through the crucial and the preliminary details that Republic has accessed. Now, let us tell you the ship's route. The ship started from Colombo in Sri Lanka and it was headed to the Mumbai port. Now, we learned that this was a 270-meter long cargo ship, and the explosion that happened under the deck, and it was under very mysterious circumstances. Where's the current location of the ship? The current location where the cargo ship is off the coast of Bepur in Kerala. Now remember, this has also created high alert off the Kerala coast, keeping in mind the oil spillage that could take place. There are firefighting operations that are still underway as we talk. Now, the ship manifest of the Singapore flagged vessel MV Van Hai 503, which exploded off the coast in Kerala, and this happened on Monday morning, has been accessed by Republic. The manifest reveals the container ship was carrying flammable liquids, corrosive substances, toxic chemicals and environmentally hazardous materials. Here's the full story.
A devastating fire has completely gutted a cargo vessel off the coast of Kerala. Thick black plumes of smoke can be seen billowing from the vessel as flames continue to rage. The Indian Coast Guard has mobilized 3 ships working relentlessly to extinguish the blaze. The dramatic action is unfolding in the Arabian Sea off the Bepur coast of Kerala. The burning vessel is the MV Van Hai 503, and early this morning, fresh explosions were reported on board.
You are the senior operations manager in Van Hai.
Correct.
So I just wanted to know, out of 22, 18 members have been rescued and 4 are still missing, right?
Correct, yes.
What's the current update on that?
They are still found missing. The search operation is going on.
Right. And the inputs we have received that there were some hazardous materials as well on that vessel. So what were those?
See, there were total 143 hazardous containers on board. Okay, there are various content of the cargo in the container. Okay, the emission of the fire is still unknown. Which container has got blast?
Right. So how many total containers were there?
143.
143. Okay.
The ICG has deployed additional reinforcements to assess the evolving situation. The Singapore-flagged cargo vessel, which was en route to Mumbai from Colombo, Sri Lanka, suffered an internal container explosion yesterday, leading to a massive fire on board. The vessel was carrying 22 crew members. 18 have been rescued so far, while 4 remain missing. When the fire broke out, the crew abandoned the ship in life rafts and were later rescued by a Navy ship. The rescued crew members suffered major burn injuries and are being treated at a medical facility in New Mangalore city. The fire, which broke out at around 9:30 a.m. yesterday, was reported 88 nautical miles off the Bepur coast. The vessel had departed from Colombo and was bound for the Nhava Sheva port in Mumbai, India. The Indian Coast Guard immediately diverted its assets to the sea, coordinating rescue efforts for the crew. At 12:40 p.m., the fires had spread to multiple containers and the crew had abandoned the ship. MV-1 Marvel, another merchant vessel, rescued 18 of the 22 crew members, but one is reported to have suffered serious injuries. The search for the 4 missing crew members, 2 Taiwanese, 1 Indonesian and 1 Myanmarese, continues, with aerial surveillance by ICG Dornier aircraft. The MV-1 High 503 is now adrift, and the ICG's firefighting operations are ongoing to bring the blaze under control. The cargo on board is being carefully assessed to understand the potential risks involved in firefighting operations. ICG is in constant coordination with the Directorate General of Shipping, State Administration and the vessel owners to devise a comprehensive response plan. ICG ships Samudra Prahari and Sachit are conducting firefighting operations, while the ICG ship Samarth, along with salvors from Kochi, have been deployed to assist in the efforts. The priority remains to save the lives of crew, contain the fire, and prevent environmental hazards.
Ladies and gentlemen, India stands on the brink of a historic leap in its space journey, with Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla of the Indian Air Force poised to become the first Indian astronaut in over 4 decades to travel to space. Now, selected under ISRO's human spaceflight program, Group Captain Shukla's upcoming role as the mission pilot on the AX-4 to the International Space Station not only revives the legacy of Rakesh Sharma's 1984 mission, but also signals a bold new chapter in India's ambitious Beyond Earth. Now, there are 4 crew members of AX-4 mission who will head to International Space Station tomorrow, but it takes a big team on ground to make the mission successful. Watch this onboarding video that we have accessed from August last year, where the crew takes a tour of the facilities and meets the other members of the team playing crucial role in the mission. From suiting up to spacewalks, every moment aboard the International Space Station is meticulously planned. In this special video, A Day in the Orbit, we take a closer look at the AX-4 mission and the fascinating process of ingress and egress, how astronauts enter and exit the ISS.
Right now we are at the Space Vehicle Mock-up facility at NASA. This is Building 9. Today we learned how to ingress and egress to ISS.
So basically when we come to the station, we need to go into the station, and in case of, for example, an emergency, we have to know how to go out and close all the hatches. So that's exactly what we train today.
It is something else to feel for it yourself once you walk into the mock-up and you realize there is a lot of space inside, right? It's not a small station at all.
I enjoyed it tremendously today because it was the first practical class we had. So the first time we really could use some wrenches and tools, as well as touch basically the hatch.
It's a little bit harder than, when you arrive to your neighbor and knock on the door. It's something similar, but it just has, more steps.
Now, an improvised explosive device was recovered from the same site in Sukma in Chhattisgarh, where additional SP Rakesh Rao was martyred in a Maoist-triggered blast. The bomb disposal squad destroyed the device on spot. Now, the improvised explosive device blast occurred near the Dondra on the Konta Erabora road, in which ASP of Konta division of the Sukma district, Rakesh Sharma, sustained injuries to which he later succumbed yesterday. Now, several other officers and jawans were also injured in the blast. On this, I have my colleague Bharat, who is joining us live from Bijapur in Chhattisgarh. Bharat, हमें बताइए the IED that was planted by the Maoist terrorist, what was it aimed for? क्या हमें details मिल रही है इस IED के बारे में? क्या था Maoist का target?
देखिए, कुंटा थाना क्षेत्र के अंतर्गत डोंडरा एक इलाका पड़ता है। उस इलाके के नजदीक पे ही जेसीबी को माओवादियों के द्वारा आगजनी की गई थी, जिसकी सूचना मिलने पे पुलिस के जो अधिकारी हैं वो उस इलाके पे निकले थे। एडिशनल एसपी जो है, एडिशनल एसपी के साथ जो डीएसपी है, एसडीओपी है और टीआई, उनके द्वारा कार्रवाई के लिए उस इलाके पे निकले। जब वहां पे वो पहुंचे, क्योंकि कुछ दिन के बाद 10 तारीख के माओवादियों ने बंद का भी आह्वान किया था, जिसके तर्ज पे पूरी कार्रवाई को लेकर उस इलाके पे निकले थे, तो आईडी जो है वो ब्लास्ट हो जाता है। आईडी जैसे ब्लास्ट होता है तो उसी दरमियान जो एडिशनल एसपी है वो बुरी तरीके से जख्मी हो जाते हैं, जिनका बेहतर इलाज के लिए कोंटा स्वास्थ्य केंद्र उनको ले जाया जाता है। लेकिन वहीं पे पहुंचते ही उन्होंने दम वो जो है, उसके बाद दो जो अधिकारी थे, टीआई और एसडीओपी, उनका जो उपचार है वहां चल रहा था, लेकिन बेहतर उपचार के राजधानी रायपुर रेफर किया गया। उसके बाद घटनास्थल की अगर बात की जाए, घटनास्थल पे जो आईडी है और भी सीरियल आईडी भी वहां पे लगाया गया था, जिसको दूसरे दिन वहां पे अधिकारी पहुंच के, बीडीएस की टीम पहुंच के, जो फॉरेंसिक की टीम पहुंच के उस जो आईडी है उसको डिस्प्यूज किया गया, डिस्क्री किया गया। ऐसे में उस पूरे इलाके की अगर बात की जाए, भौगोलिक परिस्थिति की अगर बात की जाए, तो पूरा इलाका माओवादियों का ग्रस्त वाला इलाका है। ऐसे माओवादियों की मौजूदगी होती रहती है, इसलिए पुलिस कार्रवाई के लिए उस पूरे इलाके पे निकलती है। लेकिन जिस तरीके से एक जो एडिशनल एसपी है, हमारे जो अधिकारी हैं वो शहीद हो गए हैं, 2 अन्य जो अधिकारी हैं उनकी अभी स्थिति पहले से बेहतर बताई जा रही है।
जी बिल्कुल, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद भारत आपका हमारे साथ सारी जानकारी शेयर करने के लिए। नाउ इंडिया हैज pledged to eradicate red terror with the ongoing anti-Maoist operation in Chhattisgarh gaining momentum. It was just last weekend when Union Home Minister Amit Shah held a high-level meeting in the national capital with senior police officials that were leading these operations back to back. Now, the Home Minister had emphasized then that the Narendra Modi government is fully committed in eradicating the threat of Maoism from India. However, the left has come out in complete support of the Maoist terrorists. This time it is CPI's D. Raja who has called the crackdown of Maoist judicial killing. Listen in.
It is not the issue that government of the day can kill everybody in the name of encounter. After all, India is a country which is a democracy, which believes in rule of law. And what is happening in the name of Operation Kagar, it is to target the Adivasis, terrorize Adivasis in the name of encounter. In the recent period, number of people have been killed. How many of them are Maoists? How many of them are tribal people? We do not know. That is why our party has also demanded there must be an high-level inquiry. Now it continues and it continues. It all is exposed as extrajudicial killings. If you have anybody under your watch, bring them, ask them to stand before law of the land and let law take its course. Instead of that, killing just like that, this is what we find extrajudicial killings. Another thing, let me point out, the Maoists themselves have proposed for ceasefire. Let us not enter into encounter like this.
In a video that has sparked outrage among every Indian today is a story that deserves national attention. An Indian student was handcuffed, pinned to the ground at an airport in the United States and then deported back to India. Now, this is a claim that was made by the social media user who shared videos and pictures from the incident. According to this user, Kunal Jain, the student was speaking in Haryanvi, insisting that he wasn't crazy, but the authorities were trying to make him look that way. The Indian Consulate in New York took cognizance of the matter based on the social media post and assured that they are in touch with the local authorities. However, the United States Embassy in India, in a post on X, said that the United States continues to welcome legitimate travelers to our country. However, there is no right to visit the United States illegally, and we will not tolerate illegal entry, abuse of visas, or the violation of United States laws. Watch what happened.
A disturbing video from the Newark airport has gone viral, showing an Indian student handcuffed and pinned down to the floor by multiple officers before being deported. The student is visibly distressed, crying out for help as he pleads with the authorities while being forcibly restrained. The video shows the emotional appeals highlight the trauma and desperation he experienced during the incident. The video was shared on social media by Indian-American entrepreneur Kunal Jain, who condemned the treatment and said the young man was made to feel like a criminal. Jain highlighted that this is not an isolated case. Several Indian students have reportedly faced similar deportations in recent weeks. Students have also faced harsh action for failing to explain their stay in the country. The incident has prompted strong reactions from the Indian community and calls for accountability from US authorities.
Video, what I put, it's only 20% of what I saw. And I noticed this was a bizarre incident in my view, because you cannot treat a young 21, 22-year-old student like this in front of the public. Whatever may be the case, he got a legal visa probably, that's why he was there. And then he could not explain probably the reason at the port of entry. Now this kid probably had some kind of mental disorientation, he got distressed, and he started yelling. He started saying, मैं पागल नहीं हूँ, तुम लोगों ने मुझे पागल समझ रखा है, मैं पागल नहीं हूँ, वो बार-बार यही बोले जा रहा था. तो उन्होंने उसको, जब वो, he was like hitting his head on the wall, they pinned him down. And then when he started speaking, they called some more police personals. So if you see the later part of this video or the other videos which I have put, about 7-8 personals came and they literally tied his hands like this and legs and made him a chicken. And they were trying to pull him forcefully into the aeroplane. And then the pilot came and pilot says, we cannot allow a forceful operations like this.
The Indian Consulate in New York has taken note of the incident and is in touch with the US authorities. The Indian community is urging for a thorough investigation and better protection for Indian nationals traveling abroad.
Los Angeles, one of the world's most well-known cities, has been marred by unrelenting and violent street protests. It all started after Donald Trump administration ordered immigration raids. Now, people of Los Angeles hit the streets in protest. Here's what happened on day 4.
Police chasing down protesters with batons. Protesters pushing back. Los Angeles is witnessing dramatic protests on the streets. The protests, which have entered day 4, are intensifying with each passing minute. Latest visuals coming in show a group of protesters locked in a tense standoff with police in Los Angeles' Little Tokyo area. Several visuals showed vehicles engulfed in flames lighting up the streets of LA. The city continues to tremble as fires light up the night sky, freeways blocked, and injuries to both the police and protesters. President Trump defended federalizing the military on Saturday, insisting it was necessary to address the lawlessness in California. But the move has drawn fierce criticism from state and city officials. Los Angeles' mayor, Karen Bass, pushed back, pointing out that nothing was happening in the city before the immigration raids began.
Oh, I meant Thursday, meaning before the raid. The raid happened on Friday. Everything was fine in this city. Just think about that. We weren't having problems with protests. There were no problems with violence. The raids happened on Friday, and in response to especially the arrest of David Huerta, one of the most respected labor leaders that we have in the city, him being injured, going to a hospital.
Los Angeles has transformed into a flashpoint of national tension. The city's immigrant communities and their supporters vow to keep up the fight and restore normalcy.
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IIHM.
मेरी नई हुंडई एक्स्टर तुमने भी तो कल नई कार ली है ना, उसमें भी तो होगा ना ये वॉइस इनेबल सनरूफ
है ना अंकल, सिंगर इनेबल सनरूफ।
और बेनिफिट्स ये तो मिले होंगे ना?
ये मिला।
हाँ? हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स। वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की।
Mahi sir, how much do you love your fans?
Honestly, I love my new fans. पुराने वाले बेकार में शोर करते
सर फैंस है, शोर तो करेंगे ही ना।
नए वाले नहीं करते and they listen to what I say.
The new generation Orient BLDC fans, super silent performance with voice control.
सिली में आए तो और
Cricket fans.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
सोनम राजा मामले में बड़े बड़े खुलासे हो रहे हैं। राजा रघुवंशी के बीच वाले भाई विपिन रघुवंशी हमारे साथ एक्सक्लूसिव है बातचीत के लिए। विपिन भाई, ये बताइए, ये जो खुलासा हुआ है पूरा देश इसको सुनने का चौंक गया है, आप क्या कहें? पहला रिएक्शन क्या है पहले तो आप?
देखिए, पहले लगती बात तो ये सत्य है इसमें, तो सोनम ने सिलेंडर नहीं किया गया है और ना ही इसको पुलिस ने ढूंढा है। हम लोगों ने रात को 1:45 बजे पुलिस को फोन लगाया था कि सोनम से बातचीत करने के बाद सोनम ने कहा था मैं जंगल में हूँ भैया, मैं ढाबे से फोन लगा रही हूँ और मैं जो है मतलब इस जगह पे खड़ी हूँ। तो सोनम के भाई ने उसको बोला था ठीक है बिट्टी, मैं जो है मैं तेरे लिए वहाँ पे पुलिस भेज रहा हूँ। पुलिस ने सोनम को नहीं ढूंढा है। यूपी पुलिस जो है उसको हमने आगे रह के फोन लगाया था, गोविंद ने फोन लगाया यूपी पुलिस को, यूपी पुलिस वहाँ पहुंची है। वो पहुंचने के बाद में सोनम को वहाँ से लेके गए थाने पे।
कितने बजे रात की बात?
करीब
सोनम की किससे बात हुई थी?
सोनम की बात हुई थी गोविंद रघुवंशी उसके भाई से।
कितने बजे रात में?
करीब अपने 1:45 बजे करीब। गोविंद ने यूपी पुलिस को फोन लगाया है और फोन लगा कंफर्म कर रहा है सोनम रघुवंशी मेरी बहन जो है वहाँ पे अकेली है, आप वहाँ पे आप लोग चले जाइए और जाके वहाँ से उसको सेफ लेके थाने पे ले आइए।
अच्छा।
हाँ, क्योंकि इसके बाद ज्यादा बातचीत हो नहीं पाई हमारे कुछ इस बारे में।
सोनम से बातचीत हुई आप?
मेरी बातचीत सोनम से नहीं हो पाई।
अच्छा, लेकिन अब तो कुछ और दावे कर रही है मेघालय पुलिस।
देखिए, मेघालय पुलिस तो कुछ भी दावा कर सकती है, क्योंकि मेघालय पुलिस में जो एसपी साहब जो है विवेक सिंह जी जो है वो हमारा 4 दिन फोन उठा रहे हैं, तो हम उनकी बात में भरोसा कैसे करना है? अभी
वो तो ये कह रहे हैं कि मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के इस हत्या में शामिल हैं।
मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के शामिल इसमें है कभी, तो उनकी टिकट बुक होगी, ये ट्रेन से या प्लेन से किसी चीज से गए होंगे, वो कंफर्म कीजिए पहले तो। दूसरी बात, सोनम को यहाँ पर आने दीजिए, सोनम कंफर्म करेगी, सोनम को वो कंफर्म करेंगे। इसके कंफर्म होने के पहले जो है आरोप लगाना गुनाह है।
ये भी देखिए, गाइड ने बोला था, आप भी बता रहे थे कि राजा के साथ 3 लोग चल रहे थे पहाड़ पर। जब राजा के साथ 3 लोग थे और सोनम पीछे पीछे थी, और इस हत्या में भी 3 लोगों का नाम आ रहा है।
देखिए, जो गाइड है उस गाइड ने उसको सोनम के जो पीछे राजा चल रहे दोनों चल रहे थे, तो जो 3 लोग थे उसको गाइड ने पीछे से देखा था, तो वो कैसे बोल सकता है? तो एमपी के थे वो लोग, पहली चीज तो ये है। और गाइड में देखा भी होगा कभी, तो उसको कंफर्म नहीं हो सकता ना सिर्फ हिंदी में बात कौन कौन कर रहे थे, एक कर रहा कि 2 कर रहा था। गाइड ने पीछे से देखा, क्या देखा गाइड में?
वो सोनम पे लगे आरोपों को खारिज कर रहे हैं। सोनम के पिता, आपका भाई इसमें हत्या हुई उसकी, और ये आ रहा है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किलिंग है और सोनम ने ही करवाई है, आप क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए, जब तक कोई बातें सिद्ध नहीं हो सकती है, आरोपी जब तक पकड़ा ही नहीं गए, आरोपी पकड़ा गए हैं, वो सोनम जब तक ये सारी चीजें मुंह से कबूल नहीं करेगी, जब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं इस बात को।
अच्छा, सोनम तो अभी बेसुध हालत में है,
तो वही तो हम कह रहे हैं, जब तक सोनम कबूल नहीं करेगी और सोनम की जब तक जांच नहीं हो पाएगी, तो सोनम के साथ में ये लोग जो थे, इन सोनम ने इनको भेजा है क्या नहीं भेजा है, जब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं बात को।
अच्छा, ये बताइए, शादी जो है वो आपकी राजा की सोनम से अरेंज मैरिज हुई थी?
दोनों की शादी जो है अरेंज मैरिज है, वो दोनों के पसंद से शादी की गई है। इसमें दोनों को जो है पसंद शादी करने के बाद में अभी तक हम लोगों ने ऐसा कहीं डाउट नहीं क्लियर करा है, तो कहीं सोनम और राजा में कैसे कुछ भेदभाव हुआ है, कुछ भी लड़ाई झगड़े हुए, कैसे कुछ भी नहीं हुआ अभी तक में।
आपकी फेवरेट हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स। वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की, तो जल्दी चले आओ हुंडई शोरूम।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
विमल में गुलिस्तां के ये कुछ लजीज फरिश्ते जब साथ घुलें तो जी ललचाए और दिल कहे कि स्वाद की जुबान में खुद को ऐसे डुबाऊं कि निकल ना पाऊं। विमल की जुबान कुछ है ही ऐसी, मानते हैं? विमल, बोलो जुबान कैसी?
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
सोनम राजा मामले में बड़े बड़े खुलासे हो रहे हैं। राजा रघुवंशी के बीच वाले भाई विपिन रघुवंशी हमारे साथ एक्सक्लूसिव है बातचीत के लिए। विपिन भाई, ये बताइए, ये जो खुलासा हुआ है पूरा देश इसको सुनने का चौंक गया है, आप क्या कहेंगे? पहला रिएक्शन क्या है पहले तो आप?
देखिए, पहले लगती बात तो ये सत्य है इसमें, तो सोनम ने सिलेंडर नहीं किया गया है और ना ही इसको पुलिस ने ढूंढा है। हम लोगों ने रात को 1:45 बजे पुलिस को फोन लगाया था कि सोनम से बातचीत करने के बाद सोनम ने कहा था मैं जंगल में हूँ भैया, मैं ढाबे से फोन लगा रही हूँ और मैं जो है मतलब इस जगह पे खड़ी हूँ। तो सोनम के भाई ने उसको बोला था ठीक है बिट्टी, मैं जो है मैं तेरे लिए वहाँ पे पुलिस भेज रहा हूँ। पुलिस ने सोनम को नहीं ढूंढा है। यूपी पुलिस जो है उसको हमने आगे रह के फोन लगाया था, गोविंद ने फोन लगाया यूपी पुलिस को, यूपी पुलिस वहाँ पहुंची है और पहुंचने के बाद में सोनम को वहां से लेके गए थाने पे।
कितने बजे रात की बात है? करीब सोनम की किससे बात हुई थी?
सोनम की बात हुई थी गोविंद रघुवंशी उसके भाई से।
कितने बजे रात में?
करीब अपने 1:45 बजे करीब। गोविंद ने यूपी पुलिस को फोन लगाया है और फोन लगा कंफर्म करा है सोनम रघुवंशी मेरी बहन जो है वहाँ पे अकेली है, आप वहाँ पे आप लोग चले जाइए और जाके वहाँ से उसको सेफ लेके थाने पे ले आइए। हाँ, क्योंकि इसके बाद ज्यादा बातचीत हुई भाई हमारे कुछ इस बारे में।
सोनम से बातचीत हुई आप?
मेरी बातचीत सोनम से नहीं हो पाई।
अच्छा, लेकिन अब तो कुछ और दावे कर रही है मेघालय पुलिस।
देखिए, मेघालय पुलिस तो कुछ भी दावा कर सकती है, क्योंकि मेघालय पुलिस में जो SP साहब जो है विवेक सिंह जी जो है वो हमारा 4 दिन फोन उठा रहे हैं, तो हम उनकी बात में भरोसा कैसे करना है? अभी
वो तो ये कह रहे हैं कि मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के इस हत्या में शामिल हैं।
मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के शामिल इसमें है कभी, तो उनकी टिकट बुक होगी, ये ट्रेन से या प्लेन से किसी चीज से गए होंगे, वो कंफर्म कीजिए पहले तो। दूसरी बात, सोनम को यहाँ पर आने दीजिए, सोनम कंफर्म करेगी, सोनम को वो कंफर्म करेंगे। इसके कंफर्म होने के पहले जो है आरोप लगाना गुनाह है।
ये भी देखिए, गाइड ने बोला था, आप भी बता रहे थे कि राजा के साथ 3 लोग चल रहे थे पहाड़ पर, जब राजा के साथ 3 लोग थे और सोनम पीछे पीछे थी, और इस हत्या में भी 3 लोगों का नाम आ रहा है।
देखिए, जो गाइड है उस गाइडनेस को सोनम के जो पीछे राजा चल रहे दोनों चल रहे थे, तो जो 3 लोग थे उसको गाइड ने पीछे से देखा था, तो वो कैसे बोल सकता है? तो MP के थे वो लोग, पहली चीज तो ये है। और गाइड में देखा भी होगा कभी तो उसको कंफर्म नहीं हो सकता ना, सिर्फ हिंदी में बात कौन कर रहे थे, एक कर रहा कि 2 कर रहा था। गाइड ने पीछे से देखा, क्या देखा गाइड में?
वो सोनम पे लगे आरोपों को खारिज कर रहे हैं। सोनम के पिता, आपका भाई इसमें हत्या हुई उसकी, और ये आ रहा है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किलिंग है और सोनम ने ही करवाई है, आप क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए, जब तक कोई बातें सिद्ध नहीं हो सकती है, आरोपी जब तक पकड़ा नहीं गए, आरोपी पकड़ा गए हैं, वो सोनम जब तक ये सारी चीजें मुंह से कबूल नहीं करेगी, जब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं इस बात को।
अच्छा, सोनम तो अभी बेसुध हालत में,
तो वही तो हम कह रहे हैं, जब तक सोनम कबूल नहीं करेगी और सोनम की जब तक जांच नहीं हो पाएगी, तो सोनम के साथ में ये लोग जो थे, सोनम ने इनको भेजा है क्या नहीं भेजा है, जब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं बात को।
अच्छा, ये बताइए, शादी जो है वो आपकी राजा की सोनम से अरेंज मैरिज हुई थी?
दोनों की शादी जो है अरेंज मैरिज है, वो दोनों के पसंद से शादी की गई है। इसमें दोनों को जो है पसंद से शादी करने के बाद में अभी तक हम लोगों ने ऐसा कहीं डाउट नहीं क्लियर करा है, तो कहीं सोनम और राजा में कैसे कुछ भेदभाव हुआ है, कुछ भी लड़ाई झगड़े हुए, कैसे कुछ भी नहीं हुआ अभी तक में।
Republic accessed the exclusive documents which show that the Singapore vessel was carrying hazardous substances for crew members still missing. External Affairs Minister has warned, asserting that there will be retribution against the terrorist outfits and their leaders in case barbaric attacks like the Pahalgam attack continues. 92 illegal Bangladeshi infiltrators apprehended in one day in the national capital. Operation Pushback continues. Chief of the Air Staff and all air warriors of the Indian Air Force wishes Group Captain Shubhamshu Shukla as he prepares to embark on Axiom 4 space mission tomorrow. At least 8 people were killed and several others injured in a shooting at a school in the Austrian city of Graz. A latest furor over this entire issue of a deportation of an Indian student. As per sources within the Ministry of External Affairs, we are given to understand the ministry has formally raised the matter with the US Embassy in the national capital regarding the mistreatment of the Indian student at Newark Airport. In fact, the Indian Embassy in Washington, D.C. and the Indian Consulate in New York have also been in touch with the US authorities to ascertain the details. We have so far not received any details about the incident or the circumstances under which he was restrained. This is what the embassy has to say. The flight he had to board or has already boarded and his final destination. In fact, the embassy says that they continue to follow up on this entire matter. In fact, remember, these visuals did actually send the shockwaves of an Indian student who was deported. Remember, he was handcuffed, and what you're essentially looking at right now, these visuals that came in. That's the latest coming in with regards to the US student, Indian student who was deported. Shifting focus now to the other breaking news now coming in. Firefighting and search operations continue on board the Singapore registered container vessel Wang Hai 503. Currently off the coast of Kerala, the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore says 2 more firefighting vessels are being deployed to support the Indian efforts at the site. Singapore authorities are working closely with Indian agencies, providing technical data to help them contain the fire, monitor vessel stability and assess any environmental risk. Of the Kerala coast, these are the visuals now coming in. In fact, this visual that you see came in earlier today of the vessel that has caught fire after multiple explosions were basically reported. In fact, the breaking news now coming in, 2 additional vessels have also been sent to the spot to carry out the firefighting options. In fact, my colleague Ashwin is also joining us on this broadcast. Ashwin, any further details that you are picking up? The latest coming in that 2 more additional vessels have been sent to contain the fire.
Shravan, what we know is that the company has in fact asked private companies also to come, and one of very important Dutch-based company, Smith, has sent its assets, and that has already confirmed it has reached over there in this very spot for the salvage operation, because essentially over there are 157 containers which are hazardous, and to handle them needs expert hands. So that has also been confirmed. We are also getting the names of the 4 of the missing crew members, and their names have also been there. Yu Bong Fong, who's known to be the 2nd engineer from Taiwan, is missing. San Win, who's a Myanmar national, is missing, as well as Zainal Abidin from Indonesia, Indonesian national, is missing, as well as a motorman by name Sa Chia Wen from Taiwan. So these are the 4 crew members who are missing. Of the total number of crew members, 18 of them are in Mangalore. Mangalore. 6 of them are being treated in AG Hospital in Mangalore, and 12 of them are staying in a hotel in Mangalore, awaiting the company management to arrive in Mangalore, hopefully tomorrow. And we are expecting that the company management will also speak to the media tomorrow once they reach Mangalore, and maybe the crew members will also speak to the media as well. But what we know so far is that on one side, along with the Indian Navy and the Indian Coast Guard, the private, the salvage operation companies, which are private entities, have also reached the spot to ensure that the cargo which is there do not spill into the ocean too much, and whatever can be salvaged and protect the natural environment can be done by these companies as well. Shavan.
Well, thank you very much, Ashwin, for getting us the latest details. We're also going to get you more exclusive information and visuals in a short while from now that have been accessed as the firefighting operation still continues. Let me also take you to the other breaking news now coming in. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is in Europe, slammed Pakistan for sponsoring cross-border terrorism. Dr. S. Jaishankar made a strong statement on India-Pakistan tensions, clarifying that the issue is not a conflict between two nations, but a response to terrorism. He also urged the global community to see it not as India versus Pakistan, but as India versus Terroristan. Reaffirming India's firm position, Jaishankar emphasized that terrorism in any form must not be tolerated and warned against yielding to any form of nuclear blackmail. Listen in to what the External Affairs Minister had to say.
I want you to understand, this is not a conflict between two states per se. This is actually a response to the threat and to the practice of terrorism. So I would urge you to make it, don't think of it as India-Pakistan, think of it as India-Terroristan. You will then appreciate. I'd like you to understand, this is not a conflict between two states per se. This is actually a response to the threat and to the practice of terrorism. So I would urge you to make it, don't think of it as India-Pakistan, think of it as India-Terroristan. You will then appreciate it. I'd like you to understand, this is not a conflict between two states per se. This is actually a response to the threat and to the practice of terrorism. So I would urge you to make it, don't think of it as India-Pakistan, think of it as India-Terroristan.
Days after the Operation Sindhu, politics still continuing on this entire issue. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has now raised serious concerns over the security arrangements following the Pahalgam terror attack. Speaking at the State Assembly, the Chief Minister slammed the centre and security agencies, alleging a complete failure of intelligence and preparedness. She also questioned the absence of police deployment at the site and demanded immediate action against the attackers. Mamata then went on to say that the BSF and the other forces need to tighten up, questioning our own forces yet again by the Chief Minister. Listen in to what the Chief Minister had to say in the State Assembly. In fact, this comes at a time when multiple delegations were sent by the centre. This was an all-party delegation addressing various nations. In fact, you've also had Abhishek Banerjee, who has been part of one such delegation and has actually gone ahead establishing the fact that this was a response to the terror attack that was carried out by the Pakistanis. In fact, now you have West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee questioning this entire purpose of the delegations that were sent and the fact that the focus basically lies on this. Shifting focus now to the other story that we're getting here. Police officials have also paid a tribute to late Additional Superintendent of Police Rakesh Rao. In fact, he lost his life due to the IED blast which took place in Sukma. The tribute was held yesterday in Raipur in Chhattisgarh. Take a look at this detailed report.
A tribute was paid to ASP Rakesh Rao Giripunje, who lost his life on June 9 in an IED blast carried out by Maoists in Sukma's Konta. Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Vishnu Dev Sai, Assembly Speaker Raman Singh and police officials paid their last respects to ASP Rakesh Rao. "42-year-old ASP was a gallantry medal winner."
एक आईडी ब्लास्ट प्रेशर बम के चपेट में आकर अतिरिक्त पुलिस अधीक्षक श्री आकाश राव गिरपुंजे जी शहीद हो गए। हम उनके शहादत को नमन करते हैं और आज उनको श्रद्धांजलि देने के लिए यहाँ पर आए हुए थे। आकाश राव का शहादत बेकार नहीं जाएगा। नक्सलवाद अंतिम सांसें ले रहा है। निश्चित रूप से नक्सलवाद का खात्मा होके रहेगा।
ASP was leading a foot patrol in an area where Maoists had torched vehicles in the previous night. The 42-year-old officer took the brunt of the blast while two other officials were injured after being hit by the shrapnel. Slain officers' mortal remains have been brought to Raipur and the last rites will be performed today.
After 41 years, India's tricolour is set to soar back into the space aboard the International Space Station. We bring you the story of Group Captain Shubhamshu Shukla, from the skies to the stars. Shubhanshu Shukla's journey is a testament to India's growing prowess in space exploration.
After a wait of 41 long years, the tricolour is set to return to space, and this time it will fly aboard the International Space Station. Group Captain Shubhamshu Shukla, a decorated test pilot in the Indian Air Force, is poised to make history as the first Indian astronaut to board the International Space Station. A defining moment, not just for him, but for 1.4 billion Indians.
Inside, but outside will be difficult.
As the mission pilot for Axiom Space's AX-4 mission, Shukla will lift off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This marks Axiom's fourth human spaceflight and India's bold new leap in commercial space exploration. A journey built on discipline, courage and dedication. Shubhanshu Shukla's path to space began in cockpits of Indian fighter jets. Now the seasoned group captain takes his experience from the skies to the stars. At NASA's Johnson Space Center, the AX-4 crew has undergone months of rigorous preparation. From survival drills to zero-gravity simulations, every step is designed to ensure mission readiness in the unforgiving environment of space. Even meals in space are engineered for performance. The crew spend time tasting and selecting from NASA's array of carefully crafted food options, a small but crucial part in the life aboard the ISS. 4 decades ago, Rakesh Sharma became the first Indian in space. Now Shubhanshu Shukla carries forward the legacy, not just revisiting it, but redefining it, with India represented in orbit once again. From Hindustan to the heavens, this is more than just a mission. It's a message that India is here, in space, to stay, and for the next generation of dreamers, the countdown has already begun.
Now, orbiting nearly 400 kilometers above Earth, the International Space Station is a marvel of modern science and global cooperation. But what exactly is it, and why is it so very important to humanity's future in space? Here's a full explainer.
Far above the Earth, in the vacuum of space, flies a man-made wonder, the International Space Station. The ISS is a giant laboratory orbiting Earth at over 28,000 kilometers per hour. It travels around the planet 16 times every single day. The floating science station is the result of collaborations between 5 space agencies: NASA, Roscosmos, ESA, JAXA, and CSA. Built piece by piece in space since 1998,
The ISS is made up of modules that were launched and assembled in orbit. Together, they form one of the most complex engineering projects in the history. Astronauts from around the world live and work here, usually 6 at a time. They spend months conducting experiments that can't be done on Earth. From studying how the human body reacts to zero gravity, to testing new technologies for Mars mission, what happens aboard the ISS helps shape the future of space exploration. The ISS also serves as a unique symbol of what humanity can achieve when nations work together above borders, beyond politics, and in pursuit of knowledge. But its journey may soon end. With aging infrastructure and new players in the game, countries are now preparing for the next era of space stations: commercial, national, and even lunar. For now, the International Space Station remains a beacon of science and shared dream to reach beyond our world.
Right now, a major safety scare was reported at the Chennai airport after a Pune to Chennai Air India Express flight carrying 178 passengers was hit by a laser beam while attempting to land. The laser caused momentary disorientation in the cockpit, forcing the pilot to hover for nearly 10 minutes before a safe landing could be made. This is the second such incident that has been reported in the last 2 weeks near Chennai airport. While no FIR has been registered as yet, an investigation is currently underway. Authorities are also treating the matter extremely seriously, given the fact that this could have actually led to a potential risk to flight safety and passenger lives. The laser targets Pune as well as Chennai Air India Express flight. That's the latest coming in of the flight scare reported over Chennai airport.
Mysterious fire on Singapore flagged container ship. Unending blasts reported for the last 36 hours. Were there banned items on the ship? Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Mahi sir, how much do you love your fans?
Honestly, I love my new fans. पुराने वाले बेकार में शोर करते
सर फैंस है शोर तो करेंगे ही ना
नए वाले नहीं करते and they listen to what I say.
The new generation Orient BLDC fans. Super silent performance with voice control.
Silly me, I thought.
Cricket fans.
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IIHM.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
सोनम राजा मामले में बड़े बड़े खुलासे हो रहे हैं। राजा रघुवंशी के बीच वाले भाई विपिन रघुवंशी हमारे साथ एक्सक्लूसिव है बातचीत के लिए। विपिन भाई, ये बताइए, ये जो खुलासा हुआ है पूरा देश इसको सुनने का चौंक गया है, आप क्या कहें? पहला रिएक्शन क्या है पहले तो आप?
देखिए, पहले लगती बात तो ये सत्य है इसमें, तो सोनम ने सिलेंडर नहीं किया गया है और ना ही इसको पुलिस ने ढूंढा है। हम लोगों ने रात को 1:45 बजे पुलिस को फोन लगाया था कि सोनम से बातचीत करने के बाद सोनम ने कहा था मैं जंगल में हूँ भैया, मैं ढाबे से फोन लगा रही हूँ और मैं जो है मतलब इस जगह पे खड़ी हूँ। तो सोनम के भाई ने उसको बोला था ठीक है बिट्टी, मैं जो है मैं तेरे लिए वहाँ पे पुलिस भेज रहा हूँ। पुलिस ने सोनम को नहीं ढूंढा है। यूपी पुलिस जो है उसको हमने आगे रह के फोन लगाया था, गोविंद ने फोन लगाया यूपी पुलिस को, यूपी पुलिस वहाँ पहुंची है और पहुंचने के बाद में सोनम को वहां से लेके गए थाने पे।
कितने बजे रात की बात? करीब सोनम की किससे बात हुई थी?
सोनम की बात हुई थी गोविंद रघुवंशी उसके भाई से।
कितने बजे रात में?
करीब अपने 1:45 बजे करीब। गोविंद ने यूपी पुलिस को फोन लगाया है और फोन लगा कंफर्म करा है सोनम रघुवंशी मेरी बहन जो है वहाँ पे अकेली है, आप वहाँ पे आप लोग चले जाइए और जाके वहाँ से उसको सेफ लेके थाने पे ले आइए। हाँ, क्योंकि बताया इसके बाद ज्यादा बातचीत हुई भाई हमारे कुछ इस बारे में।
सोनम से बातचीत हुई आप लोग?
मेरी बातचीत सोनम से नहीं हो पाई।
अच्छा, लेकिन अब तो कुछ और दावे कर रही है मेघालय पुलिस।
देखिए मेघालय पुलिस तो कुछ भी दावा कर सकती है, क्योंकि मेघालय पुलिस में जो एसपी साहब जो है विवेक सिंह जी जो है वो हमारा 4 दिन फोन उठा रहे हैं, तो हम उनकी बात में भरोसा कैसे करना है। अभी
वो तो ये कह रहे हैं कि मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के इस हत्या में शामिल हैं।
मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के शामिल इसमें है कभी, तो उनकी टिकट बुक होगी, ये ट्रेन से या प्लेन से किसी चीज से गए होंगे, वो कंफर्म कीजिए पहले तो। दूसरी बात, सोनम को यहाँ पर आने दीजिए, सोनम कंफर्म करेगी, सोनम को वो कंफर्म करेंगे। इसके कंफर्म होने के पहले जो है आरोप लगाना गुनाह है।
ये भी देखिए, गाइड ने बोला था, आप भी बता रहे थे कि राजा के साथ 3 लोग चल रहे थे पहाड़ पर, जब राजा के साथ 3 लोग थे और सोनम पीछे पीछे थी, और इस हत्या में भी 3 लोगों का नाम आ रहा है।
देखिए जो गाइड है उस गाइडनेस को सोनम के जो पीछे राजा चल रहे दोनों चल रहे थे, तो जो 3 लोग थे उसको गाइड ने पीछे से देखा था, तो वो कैसे बोल सकता है तो एमपी के थे वो लोग, पहली चीज तो ये है। और गाइड में देखा भी होगा कभी तो उसको कंफर्म नहीं हो सकता ना, सिर्फ हिंदी में बात कौन कौन कर रहे थे, एक कर रहा कि 2 कर रहा था। गाइड ने पीछे से देखा, क्या देखा गाइड में?
वो सोनम पे लगे आरोपों को खारिज कर रहे हैं। सोनम के पिता, आपका भाई इसमें हत्या हुई उसकी, और ये आ रहा है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किलिंग है और सोनम ने ही करवाई है, आप क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए जब तक कोई बातें सिद्ध नहीं हो सकती है, आरोपी जब तक पकड़ा नहीं गए, आरोपी पकड़ा गए हैं, वो सोनम जब तक ये सारी चीजें मुंह से कबूल नहीं करेगी, जब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं इस बात को।
सोनम तो अभी बेसुध हालत में है,
तो वही तो हम कह रहे हैं, जब तक सोनम कबूल नहीं करेगी और सोनम की जब तक जांच नहीं हो पाएगी, तो सोनम के साथ में ये लोग जो थे, इन सोनम ने इनको भेजा है क्या नहीं भेजा है, जब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं बात को।
अच्छा ये बताइए, शादी जो है वो आपकी राजा की सोनम से अरेंज मैरिज हुई थी?
दोनों की शादी जो है अरेंज मैरिज है, वो दोनों के पसंद से शादी की गई है। इसमें दोनों को जो है पसंद शादी करने के बाद में अभी तक हम लोगों ने ऐसा कहीं डाउट नहीं क्लियर करा है, तो कहीं सोनम और राजा में कैसे कुछ भेदभाव हुआ है, कुछ भी लड़ाई झगड़े हुए, कैसे कुछ भी नहीं हुआ अभी तक में।
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र।
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IHM.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
विमल में गुलिस्तां की ये कुछ लजीज फरिश्ते जब साथ घुले तो जी ललचाए और दिल कहे कि स्वाद की जुबान में खुद को ऐसा डुबाऊं कि निकल ना पाऊं। विमल की जुबान कुछ है ही ऐसी, मानते हैं ना? विमल, बोलो जुबान कैसी?
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
सोनम राजा मामले में बड़े बड़े खुलासे हो रहे हैं। राजा रघुवंशी के बीच वाले भाई विपिन रघुवंशी हमारे साथ एक्सक्लूसिव है बातचीत के लिए। विपिन भाई, ये बताइए, ये जो खुलासा हुआ है पूरा देश इसको सुनने का चौंक गया है, आप क्या कहें? पहला रिएक्शन क्या है पहले तो आप?
देखिए पहले लगती बात तो ये सत्य है इसमें, तो सोनम को कोई सोनम ने सिलेंडर नहीं किया गया है और ना ही इसको पुलिस ने ढूंढा है। हम लोगों ने रात को 1:45 पुलिस को फोन लगाया था कि सोनम से बातचीत करने के बाद सोनम ने कहा था मैं जंगल में हूँ भैया, मैं ढाबे से फोन लगा रही हूँ और मैं जो है मतलब इस जगह पे खड़ी हूँ। तो सोनम के भाई ने उसको बोला था ठीक है बिट्टी, मैं जो है मैं तेरे लिए वहाँ पे पुलिस भेज रहा हूँ। पुलिस ने सोनम को नहीं ढूंढा है। यूपी पुलिस जो है उसको हमने आगे रह के फोन लगाया था, गोविंद ने फोन लगाया यूपी पुलिस को, यूपी पुलिस वहाँ पहुंची है। वो पहुंचने के बाद में सोनम को वहां से लेके गए थाने पे।
कितने बजे रात की बात है?
करीब
सोनम की किससे बात हुई थी?
सोनम की बात हुई थी गोविंद रघुवंशी उसके भाई से।
कितने बजे रात में?
करीब अपने 1:45 बजे करीब। गोविंद ने यूपी पुलिस को फोन लगाया है और फोन लगा कंफर्म करा है सोनम रघुवंशी मेरी बहन जो है वहाँ पे अकेली है, आप वहाँ पे आप लोग चले जाइए और जाके वहाँ से उसको सेफ लेके थाने पे ले आइए। हाँ, क्योंकि
बताया
इसके बाद ज्यादा बातचीत हो नहीं पाई हमारे कुछ इस बारे में।
सोनम से बातचीत हुई आप?
मेरी बातचीत सोनम से नहीं हो पाई।
अच्छा, लेकिन अब तो कुछ और दावे कर रही है मेघालय पुलिस।
देखिए मेघालय पुलिस तो कुछ भी दावा कर सकती है, क्योंकि मेघालय पुलिस में जो एसपी साहब जो है विवेक सिंह जी जो है वो हमारा 4 दिन फोन उठा रहा है, तो हम उनकी बात में भरोसा कैसे करना है अभी।
वो तो ये कह रहे हैं कि मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के इस हत्या में शामिल हैं।
मध्य प्रदेश के 3 लड़के शामिल इसमें है कभी, तो उनकी टिकट बुक होगी, ये ट्रेन से या प्लेन से किसी चीज से गए होंगे, वो कंफर्म कीजिए पहले तो। दूसरी बात सोनम को यहाँ पर आने दीजिए, सोनम कंफर्म करेगी, सोनम को वो कंफर्म करेंगे। इसके कंफर्म होने के पहले जो है आरोप लगाना गुनाह है।
ये भी देखिए गाइड ने बोला था, आप भी बता रहे थे कि राजा के साथ 3 लोग चल रहे थे पहाड़ पर, जब राजा के साथ 3 लोग थे और सोनम पीछे पीछे थी, और इस हत्या में भी 3 लोगों का नाम आ रहा है।
देखिए जो गाइड है उस गाइड ने उसको सोनम के जो पीछे राजा चल रहे थे दोनों चल रहे थे, तो जो 3 लोग थे उसको गाइड ने पीछे से देखा था, तो वो कैसे बोल सकता है तो एमपी के थे वो लोग, पहली चीज तो ये है। और गाइड में देखा भी होगा कभी तो उसको कंफर्म नहीं हो सकता ना हिंदी में बात कौन कौन कर रहे थे, एक कर रहा के 2 कर रहा था। गाइड ने पीछे से देखा, क्या देखा गाइड में?
वो सोनम पे लगे आरोपों को खारिज कर रहे हैं। सोनम के पिता, आपका भाई इसमें हत्या हुई उसकी, और ये आ रहा है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किलिंग है और सोनम ने ही करवाई है, आप क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए जब तक कोई बातें सिद्ध नहीं हो सकती है, आरोपी जब तक पकड़ा ही नहीं गए, आरोपी पकड़ा गए हैं, वो सोनम जब तक ये सारी चीजें मुंह से कबूल नहीं करेगी तब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं इस बात को।
सोनम तो अभी बेसुध हालत में है,
तो वही तो हम कह रहे हैं, जब तक सोनम कबूल नहीं करेगी और सोनम की जब तक जांच नहीं हो पाएगी, तो सोनम के साथ में ये लोग जो थे, इन सोनम ने इनको भेजा है क्या नहीं भेजा है, जब तक हम लोग मानने को राजी नहीं बात को।
अच्छा ये बताइए, शादी जो है वो आपकी राजा की सोनम से अरेंज मैरिज हुई थी?
दोनों की शादी जो है अरेंज मैरिज है, वो दोनों के पसंद से शादी की गई है। इसमें दोनों को जो है पसंद से शादी करने के बाद में अभी तक हम लोगों ने ऐसा कहीं डाउट नहीं क्लियर करा है, तो कहीं सोनम और राजा में कैसे कुछ भेदभाव हुआ है, कुछ भी लड़ाई झगड़े हुए, कैसे कुछ भी नहीं हुआ अभी तक में।
Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the Tuesday edition of This Is Exclusive with me, Shavan. 1,708 containers on a Singapore-based vessel. Chemicals that are used in making explosives now found. Multiple explosions have been reported. And this vessel had come from Colombo, headed towards Nhava Sheva port. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we peel out each layers coming in on this big story. Was there a national security concern? All this and much more on this edition of This Is Exclusive. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Sources say the Singapore cargo vessel had 157 containers carrying hazardous material. Coast Guard confirms material could be a possible reason for explosion. International Centre for Ocean Information Service issues alert for the coast of Kerala due to potential oil spill and debris from the ship. As Axiom 4 crew prepares for liftoff, Chief of Air Staff and all air warriors. Biggest story, but it is now turning out to be one of the biggest national security concern. We're talking about the Singapore vessel that caught fire on 9th of June around 9:30 in the morning. But even now, as we speak, the fire is yet to be doused. In fact, I'm going to start with the latest visuals that have been captured from the Dornier aircraft of the Indian Coast Guard. These are the latest visuals of the firefighting operations, which show that only 40% of the fire has been doused after over 24 hours. Now, this is the latest visual that we have just got. I'm going to play out the entire sequence of what has been caught by the Dornier aircraft. In fact, that will just give you, I'll just give you a sneak peek into how the operations are being carried out and why it is turning out to be the biggest challenge. I'm also going to tell you in details as to what they have found so far. Take a look. Well, now let me tell you what we know so far. The Indian Coast Guard is now still continuing with the fire and the attempt to bring the inferno under control. As we speak, visible flames may have reduced and thick smoke continues to emanate, is what the Indian Coast Guard has informed us. In fact, what you see right now on your screen, at least the middle portion of the ship as well as the rear end of the ship, explosions can still be heard, and that is the reason why this entire process is turning out to be far more challenging. Now, I'll tell you why it has taken so much time. That is because what you see, these containers, over 1,700 containers that have basically come in. Now, each of these containers contain hazardous substances. About 157 such hazardous substances are present. That is the latest information that we have got from multiple authorities. Let's take you through some of the details now coming in with regards to the firefighting operation. The Indian Coast Guard has confirmed that the operation is far from over. In fact, they're pegging this at just 40% of the work has been completed so far. They have also included 2 more vessels to ensure that the firefighting process still continues. Now, that gives you a sense that now it's almost going to be 36 hours and the firefighting operation still continues, gives you a sense of what's really happening right now on the ground. Now, the fire was reported off the coast of Bepur in Kerala, and this vessel, which is based out of Singapore, had moved out of Colombo port and was headed towards the Nhava port, and off the coast of Kerala is where this fire was first reported. Now, what I'm going to essentially do, ladies and gentlemen, which is, of course, the biggest story of the day, is this very cargo, that ship that had an explosion on board yesterday off the Kerala coast. The incident occurred around 9:30 in the morning on 9th of June when an underdeck explosion was reported by the Maritime Operations Centre in Mumbai and related to their Kochi counterparts. Soon after, you've had the Indian Coast Guard as well as the Indian Navy diverting multiple of their ships, in fact, multiple vessels, and the destroyer ISS Surat, which was scheduled to dock in Kochi to render emergency assistance. But the question to ask is, was the ship carrying banned substance? And if yes, where was it headed to, and who is the real owner of this particular ship? First, take a look at the detailed report, and then we're going to break it down as to what we know in terms of the content of each of these containers.
A devastating fire has completely gutted a cargo vessel off the coast of Kerala. Thick black plumes of smoke can be seen billowing from the vessel as flames continue to rage. The Indian Coast Guard has mobilized 3 ships, working relentlessly to extinguish the blaze. The dramatic action is unfolding in the Arabian Sea off the Bepur coast of Kerala. There were 22 crew members on board at the time of the fire. Of them, 18 are reported to have jumped into the sea to escape the flames. Rescue teams have managed to locate them and are working to bring them to safety. 4 remain missing. The Indian Navy responded quickly by diverting the warship ISS Surat to the site of the fire. The Singapore-flagged cargo vessel, which is en route to Mumbai from Colombo, Sri Lanka, suffered an internal container explosion yesterday, leading to a massive fire on board. The ship manifest of the Singapore-flagged vessel, which exploded off the coast of Kerala, has been accessed by Republic. The manifest reveals the container ship was carrying highly inflammable and hazardous substances. The cargo on board is being carefully assessed to understand the potential risks involved in the firefighting operations. The ICG is in constant coordination with the Directorate General of Shipping State Administration and the vessel owners to devise a comprehensive response plan.
There were multiple explosions on the vessel, which led to abandoning of the vessel by the crew. There were 22 crew, 18 have been rescued, 4 are still missing. And since then, there has been a lookout operation for the crew, for the 4 missing crew. That is our priority 1. Priority 2 is addressing the fire on board, so that once we extinguish the fire, we'll be able to tow the ship to safety. As of now, the fire is still on. We have got some considerable achievements in lowering the intensity of the fire, and we hope so that since it is a long-drawn process, it's a chemical fire on board, we are trying our level best to extinguish it clearly.
ICG ships Samudra Prahari and Sachet are conducting firefighting operations, while the ICG ship Samarth, along with salvors from Kochi, has been deployed to assist in the efforts. The priority remains to save the lives of the crew, contain the fire, and prevent environmental hazards.
Well, in fact, the Republic has also accessed a new set of visuals of the Singapore cargo vessel, which has been battling a massive blaze in the aftermath of an explosion. These visuals were captured in the night. Now, these are visuals that no other network has, and we're just going to place each of these images so that you understand the magnitude of the fire that the Indian Coast Guard and the Navy is dealing with right now. And that takes us to the other big question as to what were they really carrying. Because this is just not any other random fire that broke out in a vessel, but we are looking at multiple explosions that have taken place right from the time this ship had first reported Mayday. And thereafter, what we are given to understand is that each of the areas from where the explosions have been reported, starting with the underdeck area where the first, what we are given to understand, the first blast actually took place, and thereafter it did actually start spreading. Now, this ship left from Colombo, and it was off the coast of Bepur in Kerala around 9:30 in the morning when the Maritime Coordination Agency first received the report that the ship had caught fire. And 4 of the crew members were actually behind this entire rescue operation till the time the Indian Coast Guard and the Indian Navy actually came in. 18 of them have already been rescued. Rest of them, at least 4 of them, are still missing. Now, that's a confirmation that came in from the Coast Guard a short while back that they are still missing right now. What are the 2 major causes of concern? One, a possible oil spill in that particular area, and that is the reason why private agencies are also being roped in. The second important concern is that how long perhaps it's going to take before they are able to douse the fire completely, because right now only 40% of the firefighting operation has been completed. Well, in fact, just a short while back, the Coast Guard confirmed to Republic that 18 crew members have been rescued, 4 are still missing. These are the latest visuals of the rescued crew members who are involved in the firefighting operations arriving at the Mangalore Port Authority. In fact, they have now been taken to the Mangalore Port Authority. They were brought in the INS Surat, that's Indian Navy's destroyer that was pressed into action for ensuring that the crew members are basically taken out. These are the images coming in of the crew members who were taken in. I'm also going to give you a breakdown of the nationality of each of the crew members. In fact, this is a confirmation now coming in from the Navy where they have told us with regards to those who have been rescued so far. Of the 22, 18 have already been rescued, and we are being told this includes Myanmaris, Taiwanese, as well as Chinese nationals who have been rescued and have now been taken to the Bangalore Port Authority. What I'm also going to do right now, ladies and gentlemen, help you understand what has happened over the last few hours. 36 hours and the fire still continues. The firefighting operation still continues. That's because of the 1,700 containers that are present in this particular ship. Several of them contain extremely hazardous substances. In fact, this also includes chemicals that are essentially used in making explosives. TNT has also been reported. Now, let me just take you through the timeline of it. What is it that we know so far? On 9th of June, around 9:20 in the morning, the vessel caught fire. Immediately thereafter, 4 vessels were sent to the spot. In fact, these 4 happen to be one of the premier vessels of the Indian Coast Guard. Around 12:40 in the afternoon, the fire started spreading to the other containers. In fact, it started from here, what you see, the midsection of the ship, and from the underdeck area where the explosions took place, and thereafter it started spreading towards the rear end. Now, this part that you see, that the forward bay area of the ship still remains safe, is what we are being told. Around 2:30 in the afternoon is when the vessel started drifting, and the firefighting operation still continued. This was still about 2:30 in the afternoon. 9 o'clock in the night is when you've had more Dornier aircrafts being sent to the spot, because you're looking at aerial response coming in. 11:23 in the morning, that is today, we are being told that the fire and explosions still continued. And these boats that you see, these are boats of the Indian Navy that were basically being used for the rescue operation to be carried out. 2:50 in the afternoon is when the Indian National Center for the Ocean Information Services, they issued an alert, and this was basically for a possible oil spill that may have actually taken place. 3 o'clock a little after 3 o'clock when the authorities directed appointment of salvor and firefighting expert. These are private organizations that are being roped in, and that is only to ensure that if at all there is an oil spill, it is basically contained. 3:23 in the afternoon, the coastal surveillance was also stepped up. A short while back, I also spoke to the commander of the Indian Coast Guard. In fact, they have basically confirmed that the firefighting operations are also being carried out. Even as we speak, the firefighting operations are still going on. And not just that, they've also confirmed the fact that there are hazardous substances, and that is the reason why this entire process is becoming even more challenging. Well, in fact, these are the latest audio visuals that we have accessed a short while back that continues to show us the current situation on the ground. As you can see, multiple of these vessels have also been brought in, and these multiple vessels are basically targeting the rear end of the ship. In fact, that's where the bulk of the operation is being carried out. Well, in a moment that will be etched in the annals of Indian space exploration forever, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is poised to make history as he prepares to embark on the Axiom mission 4 to the International Space Station. This extraordinary journey is not just a testament to Shukla's unwavering dedication and unrelenting passion, but also a shining example of India's growing prowess in the space. From the quiet streets of Lucknow to the vast expanse of space, Shukla's story is one of dreams, perseverance, and the unbridled potential of the Indian spirit. In fact, joining us on this broadcast is Zahir Ali. In fact, he's been part of various projects of NASA. He's a former NASA official. Mr. Ali, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. I want to begin by asking you, you've been part of several of these missions that have been carried out, particularly by the NASA. What makes the Axiom mission so very different? ISRO and NASA coming together and carrying out this exploration just before the Gaganyaan operation to be carried out, the Gaganyaan mission to be carried out. How do you really look at this entire mission, and what does it essentially mean for space exploration?
Axiom 4 is a shining example of how the collaboration between industry and government space programs can work, and particularly international collaboration. So you have two American companies, Axiom and SpaceX, providing the capability to go to a national resource, which is actually an international resource, the International Space Station, populated by an international team. And this crew is wonderfully international. Being a child of Indian immigrants to the U.S. myself, it's, with a great deal of pride that we see that Commander Shukla is going to be the pilot for this alongside Commander Whitson. And what your audience may not know is the company itself, Axiom, is now led as CEO by another Indian, Tejpal Bhatia. So it really goes to show what the future is going to look like. The future for space is international. The future for space is collaborations between nations and collaborations between industry and governmental programs to provide the ability to take humanity to the stars and, eventually to be present on other worlds. I believe in our lifetime, we're going to see boots on Mars. We're going to see colonies on the moon. And those are going to be international collaborations. And India and the US are natural partners in many, many ways. And this partnership that you're seeing is just another expression of that.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ali, for joining us on this broadcast. Zahir Ali, who has also been part of multiple missions of NASA, and talking about joint collaborations, which perhaps is now the way forward. Well, that's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. Coming up, trending with my colleague Rakshita, as she also gets you exclusive conversation with the family members of Group Captain Shubhamshu Shukla.
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र.
मेरी नई हुंडई एक्स्ट्रा तुमने भी तो कल नई कार ली है ना, उसमें भी तो होगा ना ये वॉइस इनेबल सनरूफ
है ना अंकल, सिंगर इनेबल सनरूफ.
और बेनिफिट्स ये तो मिले होंगे ना.
ये मिला.
हाँ, हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स. वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की.
Mahi sir, how much do you love your fans?
Honestly, I love my new fans. पुराने वाले बेकार में शोर करते.
सर फैंस हैं, शोर तो करेंगे ही ना.
नए वाले नहीं करते. And they listen to what I say.
The new generation Orient BLDC fans. Super silent performance with voice control.
Silly me आए तो और
Cricket fans.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला. सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जीरा सिप.
विमल में गुलिस्तान की ये कुछ लजीज फरिश्ते जब साथ घुले तो जी ललचाए और दिल कहे कि स्वाद की इस जुबान में खुद को ऐसा डुबाऊं कि निकल ना पाऊं. विमल की जुबान कुछ है ही ऐसी, मानते हैं ना. विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin with a comment on the murder of Raja Raghuvanshi, who was killed by his wife Sonam Raghuvanshi just 11 days after their wedding. And the first comment I wish to make in this matter is that people should stop referring to it as the Meghalaya murder mystery. That is so wrong. Meghalaya, a beautiful state, a wonderful state with peaceful and kind and generous people. Meghalaya has nothing to do with the quote-unquote murder mystery. This is a murder which could have happened anywhere in Uttar Pradesh or in Delhi. Meghalaya has nothing to do with it. And I want to begin by saying this, and as someone who has spent a lot of time in Meghalaya and has been a student of St. Edmunds, Shillong, I feel so terrible, and as someone from the Northeast myself, at the stereotyping that's been going on over the last few days, linking Meghalaya to the murder mystery. It's so wrong, ladies and gentlemen. We owe an apology to the people of Meghalaya. The fact of the matter is, if there is any one question which emerges as a result of the most tragic and brutal killing of Raja Raghuvanshi by his wife, then we need to be clear about what that question is. That question is about brutalities against men. What is never spoken about, where men are seen to be only the perpetrators of violence in a relationship or in marriage, but can never be seen to be the victims. And if there is anything we need to consider here, it is the fact that this is an arranged marriage, which means that Sonam Raghuvanshi agreed to marry Raja Raghuvanshi. Nobody forced her into it. She was absolutely pretending to be happy on the day of the wedding. She chose to go into an arranged marriage with the intention of killing this man, of killing her husband, which just shows how cold-blooded her thinking has been. She made him wear jewelry, diamonds and gold worth over 10 lakh rupees when they left for their honeymoon. Now, who does that? Which means she intended to kill him and take away everything that he had from his corpse or from him before he died. She wanted to make money by marrying him and then by killing him. The fact that she was clear about wanting to kill the man she married 10 days back is evident from the fact that she never booked return tickets from Meghalaya, which means she knew that for the man she'd married a week earlier, it would be a one-way trip, that she would kill him. The trek they planned to go on was planned in advance, and she had told her boyfriend/lover to bring 3 people to help kill Raja Raghuvanshi. She hired contract killers, she brought them over, and she got together with this man and his accomplices to kill her husband. Now, viewers, Republic has always taken the strongest line and always been about crimes against women. But what about crimes against men? Have we become so woke and unrealistic in our approach that we do not see the trend that is emerging of late? Did we not see the trend where a 35-year-old Saurabh Rajput, who had returned from London to simply surprise his wife, who was working hard for his family, was murdered in Meerut by his wife, Muskan Rastogi, and her lover, and then his body was put into a drum? Ladies and gentlemen, did we not see the story in Bihar where a woman in her early 20s hung and killed her 25-year-old husband because he was questioning her fondness for making social media reels? Yet we think that men can never be the victim. We feel that it is all overhype. A 25-year-old man in Uttar Pradesh, Auraiya, was killed by a contract killer recently hired by his wife and her lover within 15 days of his marriage. A Mathura
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ. डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा. अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ. सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र.
मेरी नई हुंडई एक्स्ट्रा तुमने भी तो कल नई कार ली है ना, उसमें भी तो होगा ना ये वॉइस इनेबल सनरूफ
है ना अंकल, सिंगर इनेबल सनरूफ.
और बेनिफिट्स ये तो मिले होंगे ना.
ये मिला.
हाँ, हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स. वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की.
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का.
MDH की देगी मिर्च.
विमल में गुलिस्तां के ये कुछ लजीज फरिश्ते जब साथ घुले तो जी ललचाए और दिल कहे कि स्वाद की जुबां में खुद को ऐसे डुबाऊं कि निकल ना पाऊं. विमल की जुबां कुछ है ही ऐसी, मानते हैं? विमल, बोलो जुबां कैसी.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध. MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin with a comment on the murder of Raja Raghuvanshi, who was killed by his wife, Sonam Raghuvanshi, just 11 days after their wedding. And the first comment I wish to make in this matter is that people should stop referring to it as the Meghalaya murder mystery. That is so wrong. Meghalaya, a beautiful state, a wonderful state, with peaceful and kind and generous people. Meghalaya has nothing to do with the quote-unquote murder mystery. This is a murder which could have happened anywhere in Uttar Pradesh or in Delhi. Meghalaya has nothing to do with it. And I want to begin by saying this, and as someone who has spent a lot of time in Meghalaya and has been a student of St. Edmunds, Shillong, I feel so terrible, and as someone from the Northeast myself, at the stereotyping that's been going on over the last few days, linking Meghalaya to the murder mystery. It's so wrong, ladies and gentlemen. We owe an apology to the people of Meghalaya. The fact of the matter is, if there is any one question which emerges as a result of the most tragic and brutal killing of Raja Raghuvanshi by his wife, then we need to be clear about what that question is. That question is about brutalities against men. What is never spoken about, where men are seen to be only the perpetrators of violence.
From your smartphones to your smart television, trending stories are breaking the internet. All eyes are on the Axiom 4 mission that is set for the liftoff tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We're also very closely tracking the story of the Indian student who was brutalized in the United States. Not just this, we'll also get you Indian Army's heartfelt tribute to our Kargil war heroes. On the other side will be Greta Thunberg, who seems to have roped herself in trouble once again. We will tell you exactly what has transpired in Israel. Not just this, in a win that's melting hearts across the nation, women's ice hockey team has skated their way to a historic bronze at the International Ice Hockey Federation's Women's Asia Cup in the UAE. So it's a power-packed show this evening. We are tracking this and a lot more. I am Rakshita and this is Trending Today. So now, after a wait of 41 long years, the tricolour is all set to return to space. And this time, it will fly aboard the International Space Station. And this is, of course, a wait after Rakesh Sharma, who was there in space 41 years ago. Now, Group Captain Shubhamshu Shukla, a decorated test pilot in the Indian Air Force, is all poised to make history as the first Indian astronaut to board the International Space Station. A defining moment, not just for him, but for 1.4 billion Indians. It's a journey that has been built on discipline, on courage and on dedication. And Shubhanshu Shukla's path to space began in the cockpits of Indian fighter jets. Now, the seasoned group captain takes his experience from the skies to the stars, higher and higher. As he now prepares to embark on the Axiom 4 space mission tomorrow, the Chief of the Air Staff and all air warriors of the Indian Air Force wished him and the entire crew of the Axiom 4 all the best for a safe and successful trip to the International Space Station. There you have Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, who was interacting today, wishing Group Captain Shukla the very best. Indian Air Force, in fact, had posted this on social media platform X. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla prepares to embark on Axiom 4 space mission tomorrow. Chief of the Air Staff and all air warriors of IAF wish him and the entire crew of Axiom 4 all the best for a safe and successful trip to the International Space Station. This will add a new chapter to the Indian Space Odyssey. And they conclude by saying, touch the sky with glory. And at NASA's Johnson Space Center, the Axiom 4 crew has undergone months of rigorous preparations. From the survival drills to zero-gravity simulations, every step is designed to ensure mission readiness in the unforgiving environment of space.
I learned the most, how to keep your senses when things are going wrong and not to let it overwhelm you. After a few episodes of initial exposure to these situations, I think we got a lot better by the end. Today we are at Building 30 of Johnson Space Center, which, as you can see in my background, is called the Mission Control Center. If you would have heard the famous article, Houston, we have a problem. This is the Houston they were talking about. So we have a full team back here on ground who are monitoring each and every of this system all the time. And in case there is a requirement for some kind of maintenance or some kind of intervention, these are the people who monitor this and they alarm the crew.
And even meals in the space are engineered for performance. The crew spend time tasting and selecting from NASA's array of carefully crafted food options, a small but crucial part of life aboard the International Space Station.
tasting session. So as you see, we have a long list of food items that we had to try and give scores whether we like it, not like it, and based on the feedback that we give today, the food items would be packed and they will be sent to the station for us to consume during our mission. Today was a food tasting session. So as you see, we have a long list of food items that we had to try and give scores whether we like it, not like it, and based on the feedback that we give today, the food items would be packed and they will be sent to the station for us to consume during our mission.
And being a true Indian at heart, Group Captain Shubhamshu Shukla is set to carry the space-adapted Indian delicacies, including the amras, the gajar ka halwa, moong dal halwa, specially developed by the ISRO and the DRDO, customized for him for the Axiom 4 mission. Now, ISRO officials have confirmed that all the meals have been vacuum-packed, freeze-dried and engineered to preserve both taste and nutrition in a zero-gravity environment. In fact, viewers, I also spoke to Shubhanshu Shukla's school teacher just a short while back. Watch this as he reveals what he thinks about Shubhanshu Shukla as an individual, how he was as a student and what he hopes for him. Thank you so much for joining us, and Nageshwar sir, tell us how you're feeling right now. कैसा लग रहा है कि आपके एक स्टूडेंट स्पेस में जाने वाले हैं, आपने उनको बहुत छोटे से देखा है और आज वो एक एयरफोर्स पायलट भी बने और टेस्ट पायलट बने और आज वो एस्ट्रोनॉट बन के भारत का झंडा फहराने जा रहे हैं इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन में।
जी मैम, उन्हीं के समर्थन के लिए मैं चारों धाम की यात्रा पे भी गया था और चारों धाम में भगवान से प्रार्थना भी करके हूँ कि मिशन में जो भी जाएं बहुत अच्छी तरीके से उनका मिशन सक्सेस रहे और हम लोगों की जो है भावनाएं, अंतर्मन जो भी कल्पनाएं हैं वो साकार हों, देश का नाम रोशन करे। बच्चा देखे, यदि जो भी प्रोग्रेस करता है वो सबसे पहले जो है माँ बाप के लिए होता ही होता है, गुरु के लिए बहुत अच्छी दक्षिणा होती है, क्योंकि गुरु का जो है उससे कुछ ऐसा ये भाव नहीं होता है कि उससे हमको कुछ मिलना है। वो जो कुछ भी करता है उसके लिए गुरु को सबसे बड़ी खुशी यही होती है कि बच्चा हमारा प्रोग्रेस करता रहे, हम गौरवान्वित होते रहें, देश का नाम रोशन करता रहे बच्चे।
तो इतने करीब से आप जानते हो हाई स्कूल में, तो क्या ये थोड़े शरारती थे या मतलब बिल्कुल अच्छे बच्चे की तरह थे, बहुत डिसिप्लिन थे? मतलब
नहीं, बहुत अच्छे बच्चों में तो नहीं कहेंगे, नटोरियस तो थे मैम, जो है बहुत अच्छे तो नहीं कि बहुत सीधे साधे। हाँ, ये है कि उस समय ये इंटेलिजेंट मैम है, लेकिन इंटेलिजेंट वाला ये है कि हाँ काम चल रहा है, हमारा काम चल जाएगा।
अच्छा,
तो एग्जाम के पर्पस होता है बच्चा की एग्जाम ये लास्ट मोमेंट पे मेहनत करने वाले बच्चे हैं।
अच्छा, तो जैसे हमने देखा कि किस तरह से गगनयान में उनका नाम आया था सबसे पहले 4 एस्ट्रोनॉट्स में से एक, और वो जो है सिलेक्ट हुए गगनयान के लिए पहले। उस वक्त जब ये खबर आई तो आपके जहन में क्या कुछ चला, कैसा लगा था?
इसका देखिए मैम, इसके साले के जो है वो शादी पहले हो गई थी कोरोना काल में, लेकिन कोई फंक्शन नहीं हो पाया था। इसके फादर इन लॉ ने गेट टुगेदर किया था, उसमें इसके हमारी मुलाकात हुई थी।
अच्छा,
तो इसने हमसे बताया, कहा सर जो है हमारा सिलेक्शन लगभग हो गया है, अभी फाइनली जो है अनाउंसमेंट नहीं हुआ, लेकिन मैं इसको जो है डिक्लेयर नहीं कर सकता जब तक कि गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से अनाउंस ना हो।
अच्छा,
तो पहले तो मैम पता तो हमको था ही अंदर से, लेकिन एक जिस दिन माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो है अनाउंस किया तो भाई हम फाइनल तो हम लोग अंदर तो जान ही रहे थे, लेकिन फाइनल मैम उसी दिन, और बाकी उस तरह तक क्यूरियोसिटी होती ही होती है कि जब तक गवर्नमेंट अनाउंस ना करे हम कुछ कह नहीं सकते किसी से।
हाँ, वो तो बिल्कुल एग्जैक्टली, वी हैव टू वेट फॉर द ऑफिशियल अनाउंसमेंट। एंड तो जब अनाउंसमेंट हुआ तो आपने उसको क्या कहा, कैसा लगा आपको?
नहीं मैम, मैं तो उस दिन एक्चुअली फोन किया तो फोन उसका पिकअप नहीं हुआ। नेक्स्ट डे हमारी बात हुई इसकी जो है, फिर जो है 2-3 टीवी वाले इंटरव्यू के लिए भी आए थे, उसको भी हमने भेजा कि हाँ ठीक है, ये बोला सर आप देते रहिए। हम कह नहीं, कोई बात होगी तो भाई जो है हमको बता दीजिए कि इसमें कोई मिस्टेक होगी, क्योंकि मैम आपसे 2002 में पास आउट बच्चा है, आज जो है काफी दिन हो गया, तो कुछ चीजें मेमोरी तो पूरी है क्योंकि मिलते बराबर हैं। हम कहे मान लीजिए कोई मिस्टेक हमसे भी बताओ, उसको सुधार दीजिए भाई, हम भी उसको करेक्ट कर देंगे। बोला नहीं सर ठीक है सब जो है।
तो वही मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि किस तरह आपको, आपका रिएक्शन क्या था जब उन्होंने बताया कि उनका सिलेक्शन हो गया है?
मैम रिएक्शन, एक गुरु के लिए क्या रिएक्शन, इससे बड़ी बात क्या हो सकती है। मतलब बिल्कुल हृदय आप समझ लिए गदगद हो गया, कितना अंदर से जो है ये होता है। हाँ, हमारा पढ़ाया हुआ बच्चा, अच्छा ये भी नहीं कहीं बाहर पढ़ा, क्लास 1 से लेकर के 12 तक मैम यहीं पढ़ा, स्कूल में ही। ठीक है, हम लोगों के मतलब हम लोगों के गाइडेंस में पढ़ा जो है, और सीधे एनडीए में सिलेक्शन होने के बाद यदि स्थिति में पहुंचा है तो इससे गौरव के क्षण और क्या हो सकते हैं।
तो अभी एग्जाम मिशन में जब उनका नाम आया, पिछले कुछ टाइम से बहुत उनकी ट्रेनिंग चल रही लगातार, तो अभी आपको किस तरह से अभी अंदर से क्या महसूस हो रहा है? क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं घबराहट भी होती है, कहीं ना कहीं एक्साइटमेंट भी होती है, बहुत कुछ चलता है। अभी आपके क्या चल रहा है मन में इसको लेकर, जो कि बस कुछ ही देर बाद?
कोई नहीं, हम लोगों को बच्चे में देखिए इतना कॉन्फिडेंस है, बच्चे में इतना कॉन्फिडेंस, घबराहट वाली मैम कोई बात नहीं है। एवरीथिंग विल बी फाइन। उस मामले में बहुत सारा बच्चा इस मामले में जो है कॉन्फिडेंस हो तो है, पहले और अब में कॉन्फिडेंस गजब का अंतर है जो है।
अच्छा,
पहले भी जब भाई स्टूडेंट में देखा था, आपका कॉन्फिडेंस बहुत ज्यादा अंतर है।
नागेश्वर जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए, और उम्मीद है कि हम सबको फिर से मौका मिलेगा जो सफलता होगी इस पूरी मिशन की, उस पर बातचीत करने के लिए। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। Now, viewers, an Indo-American social entrepreneur has shared a shocking video shared on X showing an Indian student being handcuffed and pinned to the floor. The incident took place at the USA's Newark airport before he was deported. The American entrepreneur, who is of Indian origin, mentions in his post that the student was treated like a criminal by the authorities. Watch this 20-second clip, which in fact just shows a part of that horrific incident.
Agency has on control.